This is the GForce Golf 7-iron. Looks pretty normal from there, but the shaft, super flexible. So you can imagine what it's gonna look like in impact. It's gonna be super bent, it's gonna be incredibly hard to control the shaft and hit straight shots. Or is it? Well, in this video, we're going to be talking about the release and discussing the two biggest faults or biggest misconceptions around the release, which is causing you to hit bad shots. If we can fix those today with the GForce club, you're going to play better golf, you're going to hit straighter shots. So this is a training device. You can play golf with it on the course, it's legal, but it's more for a training device. And this super flexible shaft is going to teach you, and it's going to help me in this video teach you the perfect release. So those images at the start, what did we see? Club bent back like this, handle way forward, club pointing at the camera, not squaring up. That's what so many golfers think this will look like at impact. So let me go ahead and hit one. And there's impact. So actually you can see club shaft is actually pretty neutral, okay? And it's pretty neutral because my release was good, my release was correct. So what are the two misconceptions? Well, the first one is that we're putting speed through the grip of the golf club towards the ball or towards the target. So what do I mean by that? Well, let me get myself set up and into a delivery position. Many golfers believe that from here, to accelerate the club through, create speed and power, they should be pushing the handle through. But when I push the handle through, it's that causes that club head to continually lag behind my hands. And when it lags behind my hands, strike becomes incredibly difficult. So if we're not trying to put the speed into the grip, what are we trying to do? Let me grab my normal 7-iron, and I want you to take a slightly different grip. You're going to hold it at the top here with your lead hand, and your trail hand is going to go right onto the metal. So what I'm actually looking to do through impact is what I like to call a scissors action, or a scissor action I should say. Whereas I'm trying to take my lead hand, my glove hand, and I'm trying to take the grip of the club, and I'm trying to pull that back up in towards my body. As I do that, I'm trying to take the right hand, which is on the metal and a little bit of the handle, and push that down towards the golf ball. So I'm pulling back with my lead hand and I'm pushing down with my trail hand. So if we put a bend backwards in the club shaft, the face opens, and you can probably see a lot of that club face from that camera. If we can get the release to be as we want it, that scissor action that we talked about, the club shaft should actually end up fairly neutral, and it's that's going to help square that face. If we actually got the club kicking forwards, it would slightly close the face. It's actually starting to what we call forward bend. It's actually moving this way, which for the majority of golfers is the complete opposite bend to what they think would happen. They think that first image that we saw would be what impact looks like. Now, the reason I was getting that club to forward bend or kick is because of my release. And that's why it's so important. If you don't get the release right, you're not getting the energy out into the club head. And if you're not getting the energy into the club head, you're going to be hitting it off to the right and you're going to be losing distance. Now, the next misconception is around strike. We all want to strike the ball well. It's a given. You know, we all want to hit those shots that we see the best players in the world hit. So in order to get that, we have to have a descending blow. Okay, we know that. Attack angle has to be minus. For me, -5 is ideal. That causes me to hit ball and then divot. The biggest misconception around impact and release is that you as the golfer are trying to force the golf club down into the ground. That could not be further from the truth. And again, we can use that GForce club to highlight why that would be the case. But if I'm trying to drive the club down into the ground, let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to do this over a short distance, but I'm going to be trying to push the whole golf club down into the ground. Think about what we said in that first little example. We went to here, and then what was this part of the club doing? It slowed down and it actually moved upwards. So the grip of the club is moving upwards. We have a golf club. It's got two ends, grip end, club head end. They don't have to be moving in the same direction. I can have one end moving down, club head, and the other end moving up. Pretty easy to see that. This is what should happen in the golf swing. The golf club does not move in this direction, because for it to move in this direction, guess what you'd have to do? Push across that shaft. And what we've already said, that really compromises the club shaft in this little drill here, compromises the face angle, compromises your strike. What we have to do is work it this way, which actually gets the club head to go down, starts to kick that shaft out, starts to get this speed into the club and starts to square that face. All of those things are going to help us hit the ball nice and straight. So here's my next little drill and exercise. I'm going to take my normal grip with this GForce. I'm going to find my delivery position here. Now to hit the ball, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to take the flex that's in my lead knee and I'm going to start to extend it. I'm going to take my lead hip and I'm going to push it up and around. I'm going to take my lead shoulder and I'm going to move it up and behind me. My left side is effectively pushing up away from the ground. As I do that, don't be afraid to let that lead hand and the butt of the club also move up away from the ground. As I'm doing that, I'm going to use my right hand and I'm going to accelerate the club head out. So I'm going to get this position where I'm really nice and extended. I've pushed away from the ground. None of my ideas there, none of my thoughts, my intentions, my concepts were about downwards. Yes, the club head's moving that way, but I was moving up and away. Now, because I've got this ball teed up, I might not be taking a divot here, but watch what I do with my body. I'm going to have a couple of rehearsals, and I'm going to push and rotate. And again, a really nice straight shot. Now, I didn't take a huge divot because the ball was teed up, so let's go ahead and do it again. Okay, there's my divot. Ball went pretty straight. Again, my release was perfect, and the GForce club is helping me train that. So a couple of little exercises that you can do with this club. Just start to work some little swings like this. Notice how I'm able to kick that club forwards versus something like this where I'm pushing the grip through, trying to stay down, club's always lagging behind. Very, very different feels to me, very, very different looks to the club shaft. And this also helps me with takeaway, transition, because again, if I get too snatchy in transition, club's going to get away from me, it becomes harder to sync everything up on the way down. So I've used these clubs for years. You might have seen I did a video on them. We're using that club a few years ago now, but they are fantastic. They also do a wedge and a driver. But if you want to learn and develop the perfect release and avoid those really common misconceptions, GForce is a perfect club. And then what I can do, grab my 7-iron, take all of those ideas and those feels into the swing.